Madam Clerk, is there any other business in front of the
Mr.
board?
Chairman, I rise to request that we rescind the vote on items 51 and 53, and I'd like to make a motion to that effect.
Can we do that without objection? And we have is there a second for the motion to rescind the vote? Items 51, Supervisor Armiano seconds the motion. Do we need a roll call for that? Do we have a roll call for that?
No, he's recused.
Can I hear why?
Supervisor Peskin, you don't have to, but if you
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, let me say why. I think that after having considered the debate earlier with regard to these items, I would like to invite my colleague from the 7th Supervisorial District to sever whichever portions of items 51 and 53 that he so chooses, and then we can vote those separately and vote the balance of the items 51 and 53. It occurs to me that one of the reasons Land Use Chair Maxwell moved these items expeditiously to this particular board meeting was to give a full complement of the Board of Supervisors the ability to vote on this on first and second reading. And as we know, our cherished colleague, 14-year member of this body, Tom Amiano, will be serving his last meeting a week from today on November 25th here at the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. And I would like for the full complement of the board to have the opportunity to vote on first and second readings. And for that reason, I have made the motion and would, if the motion passes, invite Supervisor Elsbernd to sever whichever portions he so wishes.
Can we have a roll call then?
On the motion to rescind the vote on 51 and 53, Supervisor Sandoval.
Is this motion debatable?
I suppose it is. Supervisor Duffy?
I guess at this stage, I'm just concerned that people in the public left with the impression, and this has happened periodically at the board, where we do something and then we come back and revisit it. And there is one member of the public sitting in the chambers right now. And so it's not about the timing, the legislation, anything else. It's about we moved on one path, and I feel like it just calls into question fairness when people leave and don't have the opportunity to watch. And so that's what my concern is right now.
And if I may, through the chair to Supervisor Duffy, I respect that point of view, but let me say the following. All of the amendments that are before this body have been the subject of countless hours of public comment. There is no public comment on this item at the Board of Supervisors. There are presumably at least 3 people out there watching this on the internet or on television and can watch the reruns, but there is no public comment. So the fact that there are not, a dozen or 100 people sitting 30 feet to my left and your right does not change the outcome of this. This is totally within the hands of the Board of Supervisors and no longer subject to public comment. So I respect Supervisor Duffy's comment. I don't think it is of any material effect to the actions that we take, whether there's people in the audience or not.
Okay. Roll call for to rescind that vote.
Supervisor Sandoval.
Aye.
Sandoval, aye. Supervisor Elliott-Opier. Elliott-Opier, no. Supervisor Amiano. Amiano, aye. Supervisor Chu. Chu, no. Supervisor Duffy. Duffy, no. Supervisor Elsbernd. Elsbernd, no. Supervisor Maxwell. Maxwell, aye. Supervisor McGoldrick. McGoldrick, aye. Supervisor Mercarimi.
Aye.
Mercarimi, aye. Supervisor Peskin. Peskin, aye. There are 6 ayes and 4 noes.
Supervisor Elsbernd?
Thank you. In that case, I'd like to make a motion to, or I don't think it's a motion. I think I can just ask that in item number 51, section 327.6I be severed, section 175.9 be severed, and section 329 be severed. And in item 53, I would ask that section 10.E.7 be severed. And let me just explain why. While I appreciate that Supervisor Peskin has said that these items have been discussed at great length, respectfully, colleagues, we saw the actual language of this if you looked at your email in the last 2 hours. That's only if you saw it. Good luck to you. I did not. I will tell you, I did not see this. I wasn't looking at my email 2 hours ago. I was paying attention to the board meeting. If you saw it and you're ready to vote on it, more power to you. I like to read the language before I vote on it. What I am going to do once we sever this is move to continue those items just for a week. I may very well support those items, but, you know, I like to read things before I vote on it.
Okay. But before you go forward, Supervisor Peskin, the city attorney, so I assume that Supervisor Elsbernd asking that those be severed, that does not require a vote. That's now happened, correct? Great. Okay. So,
And if I
Supervisor
may,
Peskin,
through the chair to Supervisor Elsbernd, if you can just reiterate 175.9 in item number 51. You said 327.
327.6I and 329. And then in item 53, section 10.E.7.
Can we get a second for the motion so we can discuss
It's
it?
a unilateral action by any member of the body. It does not require
I don't mean to sever. I mean to continue.
Well, that comes after. Now make that motion to continue those severed items to next week's meeting.
There's a second for that. Supervisor Alito-Pierre. So shall we talk about that? Okay. Supervisor Peskin, then Supervisor McGoldrick.
I just wanted to point of clarification for a moment. Is in severing those, is it possible to also then create two files? A file in which those items which are severed are created, and then those still remain in the item as we might vote on it here today. That those items are, if they're severed, are they completely severed out, or is it two separate files and they remain in one file, but they are severed out for another file? Could we get that clarified? Because it's often confusing, I think.
And
It's not. Are we dividing the file, or are we not?
No, we're not. We're not dividing the file. He is severing 4 discrete portions of the law into what would become a total of 5 files. Item 51 would have 3 additional files. Section 327 would sit as its own, 327.6 sub I. 329 would sit presumably as its own. 175.9 would sit as its own. And item 53, the admin code provision 10E7 would sit as its own. So we would ultimately have 5 separate files. Madam City Attorney, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure that's on the record in terms of everybody understanding what we're doing. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone who wants to speak to the continuance?
Mr. Chairman, colleagues, I rise to again speak against the continuance for precisely the reasons I previously stated, which is I believe that this full body, particularly the supervisor who represents much of the Mission District, one supervisor who represents a portion of the Mission District by virtue of the proximity of his house, is recused. The other supervisor is going to be with us for the duration of this meeting and one other meeting. I believe that we should do this with a full complement, and I would respectfully speak against the continuance of these 4 severed portions of the 2 items in item 51 and 53.
Supervisor Elsbernd.
And in response to Supervisor Peskin, 99% is going to go forward now. As you said, these are 4 discrete, tiny sections that I'm asking for 1 week, and Supervisor Ramiano, who I have the utmost respect for, will be here next week for the first reading. He won't be here for the second reading. I think we all know the votes from first reading to second reading, 0.01% of the time? He's going to be able to vote on 99% of them, first reading and second reading, and just this small section, only the first reading. Supervisor Peskin, I'm asking for 1 week, respectfully, to read changes that you made and the committee made last night. I can't see how that is so complicated. I'd like to be able to read this legislation. I would frankly think everybody else would too, and we'd like to let the public too. More power to you if you already have. But as I said, we all got them emailed to us a couple hours ago. I can't multitask like that.
Supervisor McGoldrick.
May I ask that these sections be read and discussed right now? Section 175.9, item 51. Can we read that language? Because I watched the hearing, and I've been watching the hearing in the committee for many weeks and months. And I wonder if we might not put them on the record right now, please.
I'd be happy to do that, but
Can we have the city attorney do that?
Sure, if we have the city attorney enter it in, because I'd like to make some comments on the content and the substance of those items.
Supervisor Elsbernd, you have